Hello everyone, it's Meg, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some books I have read recently. As you can see, I am in a different setup today and I have artificial lights. That is because I am filming this in the evening, and I don't generally film in the evening, but they have the opportunity to, so that is what I'm doing. I'm using my studio lights that I use for my studio photography. I've never used them for filming before, so I hope this is okay. It's not going to be something regular, and these lights don't fit in my bedroom, so I have to do it in the living room instead. But that is why there's a little change up today. I have seen quite a lot of people do recently read videos over doing monthly wrap-ups, and I thought it'd be a good video for me to do because I don't read a massive amount per month. I will read maybe 2, possibly 3 books a month if I'm lucky. So I thought this would be a good way for me to talk about the books that I have read over the past couple of months to you guys, and give you a more in-depth review on my thoughts. I have 7 books to talk to you about today, which are all the books that I have read in 2019 so far. And many of these books have become my all-time favourites, and I'm really glad that I read them. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. First book that I read in 2019 is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This book is about a young woman called Eleanor Oliphant, and she lives a pretty lonely, mundane life. She has the same routine every day, she wears the same clothes, she eats the same food. She doesn't really have any friends or family, and it's quite a lonely existence for her. She likes to have everything planned out in advance and just really likes to stick to her regular routine. Until one day she falls in love with a stranger and she decides to step outside of her comfort zone in order to catch his attention. The story basically goes out from there, and I really enjoyed this book. Eleanor isn't the most likeable character at the start. She has a very specific character, but once you get into the book and get to know more about her, you really grow to love her as a character, from all of her flaws to all her quirkiness and her one-liners. She is so charismatic, and she's definitely one of my favourite characters that I've ever read about in a book. As well as Eleanor, I love all the other characters, like Raymond, who is the other main character in this book. He is also a wonderful side character, and many of the other characters like Sammy. For me, this book is a very thought-provoking book. It covers topics like mental illness and loneliness, and you really get to see Eleanor evolve and grow as a person and grow outside of her shell, and get outside her comfort zone and grow into a new, better version of herself, which is really wonderful to see. I also loved in this book how there were little breadcrumbs left out for you, like a trail of information about Eleanor's past life, about her childhood, which gives you more information about why she is the way she is as an adult, and it's really intriguing to see that and to see all the pieces come together throughout the story. This book got a lot of hype, mainly off BookTube when it came out, and I can see why. It is such a wonderful book about many different topics, but also about love and friendship, and Eleanor opening herself up to those things, because whilst from a child and growing up she has never really had a true connection with anybody. She's never received love and kindness, and she doesn't know how to react to that, and it's lovely to see her slowly learn to accept it and to also give the love and kindness back to other people as well. This has now become one of my favourite books of all time and of the year. I'm so glad I picked it up, and obviously I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The second book that I read in 2019 is a poetry collection, and that is Wild Embers by Nikita Gill. I have heard of Nikita Gill before. She is, I guess, what you could call an Insta poet. I've seen her work on Instagram, and what I have seen, I have enjoyed it. I received this book for Christmas, which is lovely because I always love receiving poetry books and any kind of book for Christmas really. And this book is all about feminism and power and embracing who you are and feeling good in your own skin. And I really love the topics that this discussed. It kind of weaves it in with fairy tales and things about the universe and gods and goddesses, all that sort of thing, which I really enjoyed seeing. However, this sort of modern poetry isn't personally my taste. The thing with this sort of poetry for me is that I can find it maybe a little too simple, and the writing style just doesn't mesh with me. I love the messages that the poems in this book express, and I love, because of the simplicity of the writing, it is accessible to a lot of people, maybe people who didn't love poetry as growing up. They may have lost their interest in it from studying at school. I know that's why a lot of people don't like poetry to this day. But personally for me, I didn't find it that memorable, even though I enjoyed what the poems were talking about and the topics that they discussed. It's just not my cup of tea. I just don't mesh well with this sort of writing, and it doesn't have the same impact on me as other types of poetry does. But nonetheless, I did really enjoy this poetry book, and I would definitely recommend it, especially if you are new to poetry or just starting out reading this. I feel like this would be a really great option. So I decided to give this collection 3 out of 5 stars. The third book that I have read in 2019 so far is Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan. I picked this book up in New York at the Strand last summer when I went to America, and I knew nothing what it was about. The synopsis doesn't describe much about the story, which I thought was great because I just wanted to go in and see what it was all about, because it seemed really intriguing. This book is about a girl named Willow, and one day she comes home from school to find out that both of her parents have died in a car accident. The first part of the book is before the accident, and then the rest of the book is about after the accident and Willow coming to terms with the grief and the fact that her parents are gone, and kind of her questioning her identity and who she is and her place in the world. I really, really enjoyed this book. I loved Willow as a character. She is so charismatic, just like Eleanor. I believe she's around 12 years old in this book. She's so intelligent, and I love the view that she has on the world. I also love the relationships and the friendships in this book. Willow, after her parents have passed away, she has a great support system, from Dell, her counsellor, to the family that takes her in, and their relationships and how they help each other grow and build each other up through this difficult time that Willow is going through. None of the characters in this book feel like that they really fit in to society, I guess. They all feel like they kind of stand out for whatever reason, and it's really lovely to see them all come together and to form a family of their own, because at the end of the day, family isn't always about blood. It's about, sometimes you get to choose your family, and I feel like that is what is represented in this book, is that your family isn't always blood, it is who you choose. I really, really enjoyed this book and how it covers the topic of grief and moving past that, and I think it is another book that is quite thought-provoking as well, which I absolutely loved. I really, really enjoyed this book so much. The only issue is I feel like the ending was maybe a little bit fast and maybe was resolved too quickly and too easily. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I have on this list is I Have Lost My Way by Gail Foreman. I have wanted to read this book ever since it came out in 2017, and I finally got it for Christmas, which was super exciting, so I could not wait to read it. This book follows 3 different characters who have lost their way, hence the title. And one day they meet up in New York, their stories intertwine from there. I did enjoy this book, but I feel like I didn't connect with it as much as I thought I was going to. I really wanted to read this book because I felt like it was something that I was going to be able to relate to, because for the past year, nearly 2 years, I have been in quite a challenging time. I graduated university in 2017, and felt like I was trying to find my way, which was why I thought I would enjoy this book so much and relate to the characters. But maybe it was my expectations that set the bar too high. Maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it as much. Not really sure. But I just didn't connect with the characters as much as I thought, and my overall enjoyment wasn't as high as I thought it was going to be. I did enjoy the different perspectives and learning about the different characters. However, I wasn't that keen on the ending. I felt like it didn't really end properly. I felt like the story needed to be longer and to have a bit more of a conclusion, because I felt like not all the ends of the story were tied up. Unless if there is going to be a second book, I don't think there is, but if there was something else to kind of tie the knots up a little bit more, I thought that would have been really helpful and just rounded the story off a lot better. But I did enjoy it. It was a solid read, even though I didn't relate to it and enjoy it quite as much as I thought I was going to, which is a really big shame. But I did still enjoy it, and I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 stars. 3.5 or 3.75, I'm not entirely sure, one or the other. The next book that I have on this list is one that I have been reading for ages, and I finally finished it, and that is How to Be a Poet by Jo Bell and Jane Kemain. I bought this book last spring, and I have been taking my time with it, and for good reason, because this book is so flipping good. This is basically a book all about how to be a poet in the 21st century. It covers topics from how to listen and read poetry. It covers the topic of writing, drafting, even covers the publishing process, from manuscripts to contacting publishers, and even to performing poetry, making money, social media. It covers everything you could possibly imagine. I found this book so, so helpful. I could sing to the rooftops about how much I love it. It has just been an absolute godsend to me, because if you did not already know, I love poetry, I love writing poetry. I would love to have a book of poetry published one day. Hopefully more than one, but we're going to start off with one to begin with. This, I have tabbed and underlined and highlighted so many parts of this, and it is going to be one of the staple books that are on my shelf that is never going to leave me. I just absolutely adore it to the moon and back. It has helped me so much with my writing already, and it has really helped me get to know more about the process of writing and publishing especially. I didn't know anything about publishing, and it has definitely made me a lot wiser when it comes to how I would like my work to get published, about building up a reputation and just putting my work out there in general. I cannot recommend this book enough. If you like poetry, if you like writing poetry, if you want to be a published poet, I would 1,010% recommend this book. It is absolutely fantastic. You will not regret buying it, and it is now going to be like my Bible for poetry writing. It is I love it so much, words cannot express. So obviously I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I have on this list is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I had heard a couple of people talk about this book on BookTube towards the end of 2018, and I found it quite intriguing, so I thought I would pick it up. Alice is a UK author, and Radio Silence follows a girl named Frances who is in her last year of sixth form and is applying to universities. She's very much an academic. She spends the majority of her time building up her CV and doing extracurriculars, so then she can apply to go to Cambridge, and it covers topics like pressure, academic pressure, and mental health and sexuality, and it is just such a wonderful book. I really wish that I had read a book like this when I was in my last years of college or even in high school. I really wish I had had a book like this, because the academic pressure isn't something that is discussed a lot in YA books, or I haven't personally read many books with discussing this topic, and I feel like it is a very important one, especially for kids who are in high school, or if you're in college going off to university. I feel like it is a very important book that a lot of kids around that age should read. After reading this book, I realised how little UK YA literature I read and how much more I need to read, because there was so many just little things in here that made me so happy and made it such a refreshing read. The majority of the YA books that I read are American, made by American authors, which is nothing wrong with that. I really enjoy them, but this was just so refreshing to read, from the little things like the mentioning Tesco's and Morrison's and Boots, to talking about going to Weatherspoons, and even the National Trust is mentioned in here. It's just, those little things just make me so happy, and I don't know, I don't get references to those sort of things in books very often, and it's just, I don't know, is it just me? That's just really nice to see as a British person, as a UK reader, and I don't know, it's just so lovely. And I also love the humour in this book. I love the relationship between Frances and her mum, and kind of the banter that they have and the sense of humour they have between each other, because British humour is quite different to American humour, so it's a bit, I don't want to say grittier, it is kind of grittier and a bit more sarcastic, and I don't know, it's just really nice to see that. And I also loved the friendship between Frances and Elide. I thought it was wonderful to see a friendship between a guy and a girl that was not romantic at all. This is also an LGBTQ plus book, which is wonderful, and there was so much representation in this book, which I also really loved. I enjoyed this book so much, and I tabbed it and annotated it. This is probably the first book that I have like properly annotated it, and I enjoyed it so much. I really want to read the rest of Alice's work now, and to just support her, because she's such a wonderful writer and author, and I just want to continue supporting her work. So I would highly recommend Radio Silence if you have not picked it up already. And I gave this book a 4.75 out of 5 stars, because I'm being picky. It wasn't quite a 5-star read for me, but I did really enjoy it, and it is definitely one of my favourite books of the year so far. And the last book that I have on this list is also by Alice Oseman, and that is Heartstopper Volume 1. This is an LGBTQ plus graphic novel, and as soon as I heard that this was coming out, I knew I had to read it. This is basically about two boys who are in high school, and it's about them reforming a relationship, and it is just so freaking adorable. I have personally never read a graphic novel before. I've always liked the idea of reading one, but I just couldn't find a storyline of a graphic novel that I thought I'd be interested in. But this is up my alley. It's a cute, fluffy, contemporary read, and I thought that it would be a fabulous place for me to start with a graphic novel, and I was not disappointed at all. I love Alice's drawing style in here. It's very simplistic and kind of rustic, but it really puts the point across, and once I got used to reading a graphic novel, because obviously there's less words and there's photos in it, pictures even. Once I got used to the format, I really got into the book and fell in love with the characters, and I just love it so much. It's really cute and adorable, and it just made me so happy. I could gush about this book all day. I cannot wait for there is going to be 4 installments, including this one, and the second one comes out on my birthday this year, which I'm so excited for. I cannot wait at all. Even though I don't want my birthday to come too quickly because I'm turning 23, but you know, I still can't wait for the second volume to come out nonetheless. If you are looking for a quick, easy, cute, fluffy, contemporary read, I would 100% recommend this book. It is just an absolute joy to read, and I'm really tempted to reread it very soon because I loved it so much. And of course I had to give this a 5 out of 5 stars. So those are all the books that I have read recently in 2019 so far. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy me doing these videos instead of monthly wrap-ups, because if I did a monthly wrap-up I would literally be talking about like 2 books a month. So I thought there was no point in doing that. So I'm going to do these every couple of months with, say, around 5 to 7 books, depending on how much I read and also when I film. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and leave a comment down below telling me if you have read any of these books. What books have you been reading recently, because I would love to know. If you would like to see more bookish videos from me, then make sure you click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you will be noted every time I post a new video. As always, I will leave the links to my social media as long as my Goodreads and my blog in the description down below for you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!